I was sitting in my car outside Le Bernardin, staring at the $8,000 engagement ring that had just been rejected. 30 minutes ago, Emma looked me in the eyes and said she was not ready to settle down because she was finally building her brand. I felt numb as I processed what had just happened at our favorite restaurant, where I had planned the perfect proposal for 3 months. Then I opened Instagram and saw her post, "Know your worth, queens, never settle for less than you deserve," with 500 likes already. My heart stopped. Before I tell you how her empowering post came back to haunt her 8 months later, drop a comment about where you are watching from and smash that like button if you have ever been made to feel like you were not enough for someone who clearly was not worth your time. But what I did next will show you exactly how the universe has a sense of humor. Let me take you back 2 years to show you how we got to this devastating moment. I met Emma through a dating app when I was 27 and working as a senior marketing director at a tech company in downtown Chicago. I had my own apartment, a solid career, and was financially independent after years of climbing the corporate ladder. Emma was 25, working as a lifestyle influencer and blogger, trying to make her mark in the content creation world. At first, I was genuinely impressed by her creativity and ambition. She had this infectious energy about building her personal brand and creating content that inspired other women. Her Instagram had about 15,000 followers at the time, and she was always talking about her dreams of becoming a major lifestyle influencer. I found her passion attractive and wanted to support her goals. Our early relationship felt like a perfect balance. I loved having someone who appreciated the finer things in life, and Emma seemed to admire my stability and success. We would go to beautiful restaurants, take weekend trips to picturesque locations, and I enjoyed being able to provide experiences that would help her create the content she was passionate about. Emma would always say how grateful she was to have someone who understood her vision and supported her dreams. But gradually I started noticing a shift in our dynamic. Emma began expecting me to pay for most of our expenses because her income from sponsored posts was inconsistent. She would say things like, "Once my brand takes off, I will pay you back for everything," or "Successful couples invest in each other's dreams." I wanted to believe in her potential, so I continued covering our rent when she moved in, groceries, dinners, and those expensive weekend getaways that were supposedly for her content, but felt more like subsidizing her lifestyle. My apartment essentially became her content studio. She would rearrange my furniture for photo shoots, use my kitchen for cooking videos, and had packages from brands arriving constantly. I told myself this was temporary, that once her follower count grew and the brand partnerships increased, things would balance out. Emma frequently posted about couple goals and would hint about marriage during our conversations, talking about the kind of wedding content she wanted to create. Looking back, there were red flags I completely ignored. Emma's posts gradually shifted toward themes about leveling up and knowing your worth. She would make subtle comments comparing our lifestyle to other couples who seemed to have more luxurious experiences. She never reciprocated romantic gestures or surprised me with anything special, but she expected elaborate celebrations for every milestone in her content creation journey. Planning the proposal took 3 months of careful thought. I wanted everything to be perfect because Emma always emphasized the importance of memorable moments for content creation. I chose Le Bernardin because it was where we had our first official date, and I knew the elegant atmosphere would create the beautiful backdrop she loved. The ring cost me 2 months of salary, but I wanted something spectacular that would match the vision Emma had shared about her future engagement photos. The night of the proposal, I booked our favorite corner table and prepared a heartfelt speech about building a future together. I talked about how much I admired her creativity, how I wanted to support her dreams as her husband, and how excited I was to create a life where we both thrived. When I got down on one knee and opened the ring box, Emma's face went completely pale. "Madison, I love you, but I am not ready to settle down," she said, her voice unnaturally calm. "I am finally building my brand and gaining momentum with my content. I need to focus on myself right now and not get distracted by major life changes. The words hit me like a physical blow. I had spent months planning this moment, invested thousands of dollars in the ring, and poured my heart into supporting her dreams. The rejection felt personal and professional, like she was dismissing not just my proposal, but everything I had contributed to her success. The aftermath at the restaurant was surreal. I tried to maintain my composure as other diners glanced over at our table, clearly having witnessed the rejected proposal. Emma acted like nothing significant had happened, casually ordering dessert and chatting about her upcoming content calendar as if she had not just shattered my heart and future plans. I paid the $400 dinner bill, feeling completely numb, going through the motions of normalcy while my world crumbled around me. During the silent drive home, Emma spent the entire time checking her phone and typing rapidly. I assumed she was responding to work emails or planning content, but something about her urgency felt strange. When we reached my apartment, she announced that she needed some space to think about our relationship and would be staying with friends for a few days. Alone in my apartment, I felt the full weight of the rejection settling in. I opened Instagram mindlessly, the way you do when you need distraction from emotional pain. That was when I saw Emma's post uploaded just 30 minutes after leaving the restaurant. The caption read, "Know your worth, queens, never settle for less than you deserve," with a photo of her looking empowered and confident. Within the short time since posting it, already had 500 likes and dozens of comments from her followers saying things like, "Yas queen," and "You deserve everything and never settle." The timing was no coincidence. Emma had rejected my proposal and immediately posted about not settling for less than she deserved. The message was clear. I was someone she would be settling for, someone beneath what she thought she was worth. The humiliation was complete and public, even if her followers did not understand the context behind the post. I stared at the post for several minutes, processing the calculated cruelty of what had just happened. Then I made a decision that would prove more prophetic than I could have imagined at the time. I liked the post and left a simple comment, "Thanks for the advice." My comment was cryptic enough that most people would not understand its significance, but Emma would know exactly what I meant. Within minutes, my phone buzzed with a text from her. "What does that comment mean?" I responded simply, "Just supporting your empowerment journey." That night I could not sleep, so I spent hours reviewing Emma's recent social media activity with fresh eyes. Going back through months of posts, I noticed a pattern I had been too close to see before. Emma had been gradually building content around themes of upgrading your life and deserving better. Her captions frequently mentioned personal growth, setting higher standards, and refusing to accept anything less than extraordinary. I realized that Emma had been cultivating an audience that would support her decision to leave me, even if they did not know that was what she was doing. She had been building a narrative where staying with me would represent settling, while leaving me would represent empowerment and growth. The proposal rejection was not a spontaneous decision. It was the culmination of months of psychological preparation. Curiosity led me to examine our financial relationship with the same analytical eye I used in my marketing career. When I calculated everything I had spent supporting Emma over the past 6 months, the number was staggering: $15,000 in rent contributions, groceries, restaurant bills, and trips that were supposedly investments in our shared future. Emma had promised to pay me back when her brand took off, but looking at her actual revenue from sponsored content, that payback was never going to materialize. Over the next few days, mutual friends started reaching out with carefully worded questions about my cryptic comment on Emma's post. Some of them admitted they had been confused by recent changes in Emma's behavior and content focus. One close friend, Sarah, finally told me what I needed to hear. Emma had been telling people for weeks that I was not ambitious enough and that she was considering her options for finding someone who matched her vision for the future she deserved. The first month after the breakup, I focused on taking control of my life in ways I had not done in years. I changed the locks on my apartment since Emma had a key, and I made the difficult decision to stop following her on social media. However, I kept tabs on her content through mutual friends because I was genuinely curious to see how her empowerment narrative would play out in real life. I threw myself into work with renewed energy and focus, without the emotional stress of constantly worrying about Emma's mood financial needs or content demands. My performance at the marketing firm improved dramatically. I started getting recognition from senior management for campaigns I had been developing, but had not had the bandwidth to execute properly while managing Emma's expectations and demands. Within 2 months, my dedication paid off in a way I never expected. The company offered me a promotion to regional marketing director with a 40% salary increase and the opportunity to relocate to New York City on an executive track. The timing felt like the universe correcting course, giving me exactly the opportunity I needed to build the life I actually deserved. While I was planning my move to New York, Emma's single and empowered content strategy was beginning to backfire in ways I found both predictable and satisfying. Her posts about independence and knowing her worth got initial engagement from followers who loved empowerment content, but the engagement began dropping when people realized there was no authentic substance behind the inspirational captions. Emma's brand partnerships started decreasing because sponsors wanted influencers who could showcase stable, aspirational lifestyles. Without my financial support, Emma could not maintain the aesthetic that had attracted brands in the first place. The expensive restaurants, weekend getaways, and carefully curated apartment shots disappeared from her content because she could no longer afford the lifestyle she had been marketing. By month 3, Emma was forced to move out of her studio apartment and find roommates because she could not cover rent on her own. The irony was not lost on me that the woman who had rejected me because I was not worthy of her settling had to downgrade her living situation within 90 days of our breakup. Meanwhile, I was documenting my own transformation not for revenge, but because I was genuinely happy with the positive changes in my life. My LinkedIn posts about career advancement, my new apartment hunting in Manhattan, and professional conferences I was attending painted a picture of someone thriving after making difficult but necessary changes. Mutual friends began commenting on the stark contrast between my trajectory and Emma's declining situation. Several people who had initially supported Emma's empowerment narrative quietly reached out to me saying they were starting to understand what had really happened and that they respected how I had handled the situation with grace and dignity. By month 5, Emma's follower count had plateaued and was beginning to decline. Her dating life, according to Sarah, who still followed her closely, was unsuccessful because potential partners could see through her superficial approach to relationships. The men she met through networking events were looking for genuine connections, not someone who evaluated them based on their ability to fund a lifestyle brand. Emma's financial struggles became apparent when her content quality dropped noticeably. She could not afford professional photography anymore. Her outfits became repetitive, and her posts shifted from luxury lifestyle content to budget-friendly alternatives that her original audience found off-brand and disappointing. Month 7 brought an unexpected encounter that would set the stage for Emma's ultimate realization of what she had lost. I was attending an industry conference in Boston when Emma appeared at the same networking event, clearly struggling to make connections with marketing professionals who might offer brand partnership opportunities. When Emma saw me across the room, her face went white. I was wearing a designer suit surrounded by colleagues who respected my expertise and clearly thriving in my element. The contrast with her own situation was impossible to ignore. She looked tired, stressed, and desperate in a way that made me feel pity rather than satisfaction. That evening, Emma slid into my direct messages with a casual, "I miss you" text. I responded professionally but distantly, making it clear that I had moved on completely. When she tried to suggest that our break had been good for both of us, I politely but firmly made it clear that there was no going back to what we had before. 8 months after the proposal rejection, I was sitting in my corner office at my new firm in Manhattan when my phone rang with Emma's number. I almost did not answer, but curiosity got the better of me. When I picked up, I could immediately hear that Emma was crying. "Madison, I made the biggest mistake of my life," she said through tears. "I lost my apartment, most of my brand partnerships have dried up, and my family is disappointed in how I have been handling my life. I thought I deserved better, but you were the best thing in my life, and I threw it away for nothing." Emma went on to explain how her empowerment journey had led her to pursue relationships with men who had more money, but no genuine interest in supporting her dreams. She discovered that wealthy men who were attracted to influencers were often looking for arm candy, not life partners. The lifestyle she thought she deserved came with strings attached that made her feel more like an accessory than an equal partner. "I was influenced by other lifestyle bloggers who talked about trading up and finding someone who could fund bigger dreams," Emma admitted. "But I realize now that your love was genuine and unconditional. These other guys only wanted me around when it benefited them or made them look good. I want to try again because I know my worth now, and it includes appreciating someone who actually cares about me as a person." I listened to Emma's confession with a mixture of sadness and clarity. Her honesty was refreshing, but it also confirmed everything I had suspected about her motivations for leaving our relationship. She had been shopping around for someone who could provide a more luxurious lifestyle, only to discover that transactional relationships feel hollow and unsustainable. "Emma, I appreciate your honesty, and I am glad you have learned important lessons about relationships and what really matters," I said carefully. "But you taught me to know my worth too, and now I do. The advice in your post actually helped me more than you intended." I explained to Emma how her rejection had forced me to examine my own self-worth and recognize patterns in our relationship that were not healthy for either of us. Her leaving had redirected my energy toward career advancement and personal growth that led to genuine happiness and success. I had learned the difference between supporting someone's dreams and being used as a financial safety net. "I understand now what real partnership means," Emma said desperately. "I would support your career instead of competing with it. I would move to New York and change everything about how I approach relationships and life goals." Emma offered to completely reinvent herself, promising to prioritize our relationship over her content creation and to contribute equally to our financial responsibilities. She painted a picture of the mature, committed partner she claimed to have become through the painful lessons of the past 8 months. But I had grown too much during our time apart to consider going backward. "Emma, growth means learning from mistakes and making better choices moving forward, not trying to undo the consequences of the choices you already made. You were right in your post that people should not settle for less than they deserve. Less than I deserve includes someone who saw me as a placeholder while they looked for something better." I could hear Emma's breath catch as she realized that her own empowerment message was being used to explain why I would not take her back. The irony was perfect. The post that had been designed to justify leaving me was now the reason I was strong enough to refuse her return. I told Emma about my new life, the executive position that was launching my career to levels I had never imagined, the beautiful apartment in Manhattan with views of Central Park, and my relationship with Elena, a fellow marketing executive who appreciated my ambition and matched my drive for success. "Elena values my mind, my goals, and my character," I explained. "She supports my career growth because she understands what it means to build something meaningful. We challenge each other to be better while celebrating each other's individual achievements. That is what a real partnership looks like." Emma begged for another chance, promising she had learned her lesson and would never again take our relationship for granted. But I had learned my own lessons about self-respect and the importance of choosing partners who see your value from the beginning, not just after they discover that the grass is not greener on the other side. "You taught me that empowerment means making choices that honor your worth," I said gently but firmly. "Walking away from someone who treated me like a backup plan while they auditioned for something better is exactly the kind of empowered choice your post encouraged me to make." The conversation ended with Emma accepting that she had lost her chance at genuine love by chasing superficial upgrades. I felt sad for her, but also proud of myself for choosing self-respect over the familiarity of a relationship that had never truly valued what I brought to it. A year later, I am happily engaged to Elena, who proposed to me during a weekend trip to Napa Valley that we planned together and split the costs for equally. Emma occasionally appears in my Instagram suggestions, but I never click on her profile because that chapter of my life is completely closed. Emma's content has shifted to themes about redemption and personal growth, but her audience is much smaller now and consists mostly of people who are interested in cautionary tales rather than lifestyle inspiration. She works retail while trying to rebuild her brand, living with family members who are helping her get back on her feet. Sometimes people ask me if I am grateful that Emma rejected my proposal, and the answer is absolutely yes. Her rejection saved me from a marriage with someone who did not recognize my worth until after she had lost it. Emma taught me the most valuable lesson of my life. Knowing your worth means walking away from anyone who treats you like an option while they look for something they think is better. They say rejection is redirection, and Emma's rejection redirected me toward everything I actually deserved. Sometimes the greatest gift someone can give you is showing you that you are worth more than they are willing to offer. Have you ever been rejected by someone who later realized they made a huge mistake? What would you do if an ex who treated you poorly came back begging for another chance? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know how you learned to recognize your own worth. Do not forget to hit that like button if this story reminded you that the right person will never make you feel like you are settling or that you are not enough. Subscribe for more stories about finding strength in difficult situations and learning to value yourself properly. Please share this video with anyone who needs to hear that rejection sometimes saves you from the wrong person and redirects you toward the right one. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember that knowing your worth means never accepting treatment that makes you question whether you deserve better.